What is happening, most amazing crew? Before we get started, we have a Central shout out. If you haven't seen our other channel, Top 10 Central, go and check it out. You see my face react to Karens fighting in parking lots. Olivia's reacting to Karens fighting in parking lots. It's a great time. So if you want more reactions, go check out Top 10 Central. We have a nice new setup we're trying. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be really fun. I don't know. I'm like, on that note, back to some mysterious lost ships that were recently found. Let's do it. Starting our list off at number 10, Roman shipwreck. Right off the coast of Palermo, Sicily, archaeologists have discovered not only an ancient Roman shipwreck, but jars mainly used for transporting wine and olive oil. We found a long lost grocery run, it seems. The 2nd century vessel sits in the Mediterranean Sea at around 302 feet deep. Now, it's a shock that this thing was ever found. It's not an extremely large vessel, and again, it's quite old. Wine trade was the bread and butter of the Roman Republic, specifically the wine known as Mamertino, which was Julius Caesar's favorite. He loved that one. That was an excellent one. So this discovery really is a 2-for-1, all just lying at the bottom of the sea. Number 9, Lake Ontario. Back in July 2011, a Canadian schooner believed to be around 160 years old was found off the shores of Lake Ontario. So we ask, what went wrong? Did it hit something? Was it abandoned? What happened here? Well, when it was found, the ship was carrying around 480 tons of coal. Now, normally that's manageable, but this fateful voyage was caused by a leak that developed on both sides of the ship. That plus the coal equals bad news. The water was coming in too quick, and with the help of the 480 tons of coal, it was unstoppable. The original search for this ship began in 2009, but it took 2 years to find. Number 8, Norfolk Royal Shipwreck. Okay, so this initial discovery happened back in 2007, but it was a secret until quite recently. On May 6th in 1682, a ship called the Gloucester got stuck on a sandbank off the coast of Norfolk. Then an hour later, she sank, sadly. Now, one of these passengers was the future King James II of England. He escaped in a small boat, a quick decision that changed the course of history nonetheless. But 2 diving brothers found the ship back in 2007, so now history has literally resurfaced. And now we can talk about it. Only months ago, it was announced officially that this was that lost ship. Maritime expert Claire Jowett calls this recent discovery the single most significant historic maritime discovery since the raising of the Mary Rose, which was King Henry VIII's favorite warship back in 1982. So number 7, the MV Joyita. The case of the MV Joyita began in 1955, and when we think of shipwrecks from the 2nd century, that's, quite recent in comparison. The MV Joyita, this case is baffling, and dare I say, it's a little paranormal. A lot of unanswered questions out there. November 10th, 1955, Captain Gerald Douglas was sailing his merchant ship from Suva, Fiji to Funatuti, which was the capital of Tavula in the South Pacific Ocean. Now that's when he noticed the MV Joyita. It was tipped over, sitting there, not fully sank, but the port side rails were dipping in and out of the water. A search and rescue team went out for 6 days straight to find any survivors. From the 6th to the 12th, they searched, and after searching for hundreds of miles in the Pacific, they found nothing. They found no survivors, no clues, nothing. There's a book that tries to solve the mystery called The Mary Celeste of the South Pacific, but what do you think? If you have any theories on the MV Joyita yourself, sound off below. Number 6, the Great Lakes Griffin. Back in 2018 in Lake Michigan, again, another Canadian discovery, diver Steve Liebert found what he believed was the holy grail of Great Lake shipwrecks. The Griffin sank back in 1679. Divers have been searching for this exact ship for years and years. Now, as a kid, Steve Liebert was talking about the shipwreck when his history teacher stopped and says, "Oh, who knows, maybe one of you will find that Griffin." Imagine that. Imagine your grade 8 teacher telling you that somebody will find a ship and that somebody was actually you. Yeah, at 67 years old, Steve Liebert found the wreck. It was 2018, but his research began 40 years prior, so it was a long time coming. Liebert began diving in 1981. It took a long time to track down this long lost ship, but he did it somehow. This is like National Treasure 3. Let's do this instead. If you're in any Great Lakes, again, keep your eyes open for 50-foot long ships from the late 1600s. Those might be lurking below your feet. Those and sunfish. They're all down there waiting for you. Number 5. The deepest shipwreck. Who knows how many shipwrecks lay in our oceans, right? Considering how many of them have yet to be found, and the ocean's way too big. It's so big, so unfathomably big. The USS Johnston, led by Captain Ernest Evans, was a US Navy destroyer which sank during the Battle of Leyte in 1944 after a standoff with a large fleet of Japanese warships. The destroyed ship laid at the bottom of the ocean around 20,000 feet deep, just hiding in pure darkness until it was discovered in the Philippine Sea in 2019, only a few years ago. Diving crews had been unable to reach it for an up-close look, of course, because it was so deep. And to put an idea of how far down this thing was, well, it was 60% deeper than the Titanic. So as fascinating as it is to find something, something, now it's still a challenge getting down there to actually see it. I can't even touch the bottom of an in-ground pool without my ears exploding, so I can't even imagine. That's so terrifying. Number 4, HMS Victory. This is one of the oldest wrecks that we have on this list today, and it took place on October 5th, 1744. It's a long time ago. The HMS Victory was a 100-weapon Royal Navy vessel, and on October 3rd, just a couple days before the wreck, the ship was in a fleet reaching the English Channel. A storm ended up scattering said fleet all apart from each other on October 4th, and the ships within the Victory lost sight of her. What happened to the HMS Victory remained a mystery for over 260 years. It wasn't until 2009 that the ship's fate was finally realized. Just 50 miles off the coast of England, near Plymouth, the US company Odyssey Marine Exploration, they ended up finding the wreckage, and when found, the ship's cannons were all still in pristine condition, with even their royal crests still visible underwater, despite, being under there for nearly 3 centuries, hiding in the depths. This was also the first time that any trace of the 1,150 sailors that were on the ship was found, right? This whole time it's been a mystery where they went, what happened to them, all that. This answers a handful of those dark questions. This ship is also a reminder of how the cannons were once made. They were made fully of bronze. Number 3, MV Donna Paz. This maritime disaster took place on December 20th, 1987, when this passenger ferry collided with the oil tanker, the MT Vector. Yeah, it was horrible. The collision took place in the Tabla Strait, which is about 180 kilometers south of Manila. This ship was carrying more than 4,000 people, which was actually double its capacity at the time of the collision. There were no senior officers on the bridge of the ship as well on the Vector, and there was no lookout. And it's thought that both ships lacked a functioning radio, so it's quite possibly the worst conditions imaginable. The weather and waters were both quite calm when the collision actually happened, and despite the clear visibility, neither ship gave an indication that it noticed the other one. So when the collision actually occurred, the 8,800 barrels of oil and gasoline on the Vector quickly ignited and engulfed both ships in flames. Only 26 people survived out of the, again, over 4,000 souls on board that day. Number 2, MV Lijula. This was once a ship that was owned by the Senegalese government, and despite the fact that it was designed to carry a maximum of 580 passengers, on September 26, 2002, this ship had at least 2,000 people on board. Again, when it could only have 580. So we're starting to see where we're going wrong here. This is obviously a huge red flag, and it's coupled with the fact that there was a large amount of people who were sleeping on the ship's deck, which is of course above the center of buoyancy. These combined only made matters worse, and the inevitable happened. The ship was en route to the Senegalese capital of Dakar, and it sailed further out to sea than it was licensed to sail. It ended up encountering a storm at that point, and then terribly rough waters. The ship ended up capsizing, and out of the 2,000 on board, only 64 people survived the entire ordeal. Not only was this because of the fact that the ship sank exceptionally quickly, but it's mostly because rescue was not sent until several hours after the entire thing took place. And finally, number 1, Ernest Shackleton. He braved the harsh conditions in the South Pole, and by 1914, Ernest Shackleton was ready to do it again. He set out with a group of 28 men, and they all had the intention to make it all the way across the continent and then arrive at a ship that should be waiting for them on the other side. Well, things took a bad turn almost immediately. See, as they were on their journey to Antarctica, they all became trapped in the ice as their ship, the Endurance, started falling apart. Now from here, as they were trapped, their supplies slowly began to dwindle, and this led to men getting aboard life rafts to then float for 14 days through the icy Antarctic seas to an island. Now unfortunately, once here, this wasn't the end, as the men then had to take another long journey all the way to the nearest inhabited island, which was South Georgia Island, which was 1,000 miles away. It was horrible. It was quite a journey. Now despite everything these men went through on this horrible, rough journey, all 28 of them survived this entire ordeal. And 107 years after its sinking, on March 9th, 2022, the Endurance, Ernest Shackleton's ship, was found in pristine condition. Yeah, it was found 10,000 feet below the icy Antarctic waters that it sank in, and the frigid temperatures mixed with the lack of sunlight, well, it's been sitting like Captain America. It's just sitting in time, just waiting. It looks like it's been untouched. It's actually really haunting to look at. Those are the top 10 mysterious lost ships that were recently found. What's the craziest thing you found swimming? In an ocean, in a lake? I don't care. I found a crab one time in an ocean. It was like that big. I'm never swimming again. I'm not doing it. I didn't know crabs could get that big. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen personally, to be honest with you. I'm Taylor McWatters. Check out Top 10 Central. We're reacting to more fun things, more lighthearted things than sinking ships. I'll see you there. See ya.